you just have to live with the resolve that what you're doing is right, knowing that it is.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to the beginning of being ahead of your time, that you may not necessarily be as accepted. Because one of the things I've realized is that people will celebrate you just to a certain degree.
100%.
They're like, no, you're going too far.
Yeah.
You're going way too far. Like, no, truth is truth. And
Yeah.
we don't know half truths.
Yeah,
We're going all the way because we need to establish what is righteous and what is just. You know, justice has to be part of our culture.
So what's going on, guys?
So what?
It's me, Haiti Leone.
And it's your girl, Jojo Renee, and you are tuned into another episode of Bite the Bullet podcast. Today we have a reoccurring guest. We finally doing the part 2 from since episode 11. We have someone who has created amazing content in the form of written work, has made an impact, has known a lot about the history and taught me stuff about the history of St. Martin. And honestly is, now in our studio for the first time. We have Ralph Cantave.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure
Thank you.
to be here. This is not your first time in the country. I know this is not your first time here.
Yes.
Right?
It is?
Yeah. Oh, no, I told you
In the
that.
Netherlands?
Yeah, so
Oh.
basically, I will be in the Netherlands just in transit to other places.
Oh, okay.
I did exit the airport once as I had a little time extra with a layover, but it was just around the airport. So I never really got to explore. So my first time here, it wasn't too long, it was only 10 days. I realized that I think a good 2 weeks and a half would be ideal next time.
Really?
Oh, that's the first time I heard
there's a lot
somebody
to
that was.
explore. But
Okay.
there's so much.
But you like exploring, I think.
Exactly.
That's
that
why.
too. Like I would like to explore every city, the old countryside and whatnot.
Wait,
So-
where have you explored so far? Den Haag?
Den Haag, Amsterdam.
What's it?
and
Not Rotterdam?
Rotterdam a little bit.
Oh,
thanks to
okay,
my little
okay.
sister who
You live.
also just gave me a little nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah, make
across
sure
it.
you let them know because I'm also, Rotterdam.
Where else would you need to see?
There's other
I
places,
find,
but whatever else exists.
Yeah, Maastricht is really nice.
But also the countrysides. I love
Yeah.
seeing countrysides of any country.
You know where I want to go? There's a village that only has bikes. And the bike paths
Volendam?
are powered by solar.
Isn't it Volendam?
I don't know the name of it. I forgot the name, but it's only bikes. There's no cars.
So
I want to go
would
there.
like to do that.
I think it's Volendam.
Okay, so it's not even
No,
that far.
maybe I might be wrong. I might be so wrong.
Yeah.
They have a city that's built just for bikes.
Yeah.
Near Utrecht, about a little bit out.
Okay, and what's the reason for your trip?
Vacation and meet up with family. So my in-laws are here. My little sister is here. And it's been quite a while since I've seen them.
Yeah.
So it's just to
It
connect.
was necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much necessary. And then also my wife and I celebrating 7 years. So this is
Last
also-
time.
That is so
yeah.
funny. 'Cause on
Last
the
time y'all
last
celebrated
episode-
5.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's
So-
like, in a week, my wife and I will be celebrating 5 years, and now it's going to be 7. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Appreciate
We finally meet the wife.
Yes.
I see you on
anyone
the
who follows
Instagram.
me exactly will see on Instagram, but hey, she's live in flesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how have you been since the last time?
Yeah,
Because it's been
it's
2
been-
years.
It has been, but I've been great.
What have you been up to?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Don't worry,
Yeah,
we
I've
got
been
you.
great,
We got you.
I've had to pause on that because like I was saying off air.
Yeah.
Being Ralph, it means I like to simplify it as I'm a multi-hyphenate person. Instead
Got
of trying
you.
to say I wear this cap and this cap and this cap.
Yeah.
So I've been great. I mean, I give God thanks for one key thing I would say is I've been able to do what I love.
Love that.
So I remember simplifying my future when I was young. I simply stated that I want to live being able to read, write, and then later on I added speak because I wasn't much of a public speaker.
Yeah.
I was kind of forced to have to enter
Yeah.
into it, especially having studied journalism. But I definitely wanted to read and write for a living,
Okay.
right? So I'm able to do that. And one of the things that give me great joy that I realize I've been doing for about 10 years now is visiting classrooms.
Okay.
So that's something I still maintain.
Yeah.
Going to different classrooms. Now, especially with my book, doing readings. But I was sometimes just used to go, or teachers used to invite me just to talk about things that I've learned, my experiences. And like one thing in particular, which a lot of persons probably didn't know, but I used to be a UNESCO youth ambassador for St. Martin. So UNESCO is United Nations Education, Science, and Cultural Organization. And through that, it enabled me to travel the world. So me being able to, for example, go to Russia, India, I went to Jamaica, Curacao, a few other countries, was because of that involvement where the work I did, at St. Martin, like interviewing elders and so forth, and just general history research, it provided me an avenue to solidify my identity, and really discover who I am, my passion, but also see the world. And so I often share with students in particular, a need to move past the limitations, move past the shorelines that we see. Because I believe that what we often hear, St. Martin has talent, but we also have talent that is capable of competing with the world.
Exactly. I usually say that because I feel like you can't learn certain things in books. And when you travel the world, there's different experiences that they really are priceless. And you could tell somebody about it, but you don't grasp it until you actually experience it.
Correct.
Okay. Well, just to begin before we get into everything, let's break the ice a little bit. I mean, we don't have any ice to break because the ice done been broken.
It's hot. But not that hot.
No. What do you mean?
No. Well, we were speaking about off camera.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, so I have a would you rather.
Okay. Sorry. I'll explain after. But
yeah. It's hot.
I mean, like, the ice is not there.
You remember what we were saying?
I get you.
Yes. Okay. So, my would you rather, of course, you know a lot about history and stuff. So, wanted to make it like very,
Okay.
What twist? So, would you rather go into the past and change one thing that can positively impact our present, or go into the future and get information and tools that can positively impact our present?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were right about making me think.
This is making
I'm on vacation.
Good luck.
Okay. Yeah, right?
We'll
future.
answer too.
The future.
Yeah.
So reason being is because, although you can change the past to help improve something in the present, I believe that by doing so, you can also change other things that would be necessary to help you or propel you into the future you're destined for.
That's a really
So that's
good
why I kind of
answer.
would rather go into the future, right? And I would say look at it as a cheat sheet on what you should or shouldn't do.
Check the last three real quick.
And for me, what I realized, and I think anyone who loves history has recognized that history is basically a series of patterns. So in a sense, the better you know history, you can kind of predict, what the future will be like.
Okay.
So,
but I think even though like some history isn't that pleasant,
very, very much so.
Is history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would want to leave it the way it is because that's why we are.
Because for example, one of the most gruesome things, right? Why are we Caribbean?
Yeah.
Slavery.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But would we have existed? Like what exactly? And I'm not saying that justifies all that took place.
Yeah.
But simply put that, it happened, it transpired. But even with that, it's something that we can most definitely learn to create a better future.
100%.
Because the circumstances, the whether it's emotions, beliefs, and practices that led to it, it can happen again. But being very well aware of what caused it, I think it better equips you, for
100%.
noticing the patterns especially and combating it if needs be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, it wasn't that tough. No. That was a really great answer. I was also thinking about it, and in my head, it was kind of along the lines of what you're saying, but you might think you're changing something for the better, but you could also create something else that, could affect the present badly. So there's always a trade-off in a sense. Right. And from the future, you could take necessary tools to be like, okay, guys, they might think you a bit crazy in the beginning because they're going to be like, how do you know this? Yeah. But you still have that means of information to do something now.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Be innovative.
But that's tough though.
It is.
When you, without, of course, the time travel, but when you simply have a vision of the future that the time you're in now is not accepting.
Yeah.
because some people do go crazy. Because it's tough to
100%.
translate or relate, the vision that you have.
I think that comes with it. Like I think any visionary.
But
That's what you call
though.
up. That's what you call
Yep.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
basically.
you have to deal with the fact that like not everybody going to understand.
No, imagine we telling our parents in the, let's say 70s, that there's going to be a software that could answer and do everything for you.
No AI.
Yeah, they gonna watch us like you. They wouldn't even. Yeah,
They'll say,
I think me. I think if you had told me this when I had start college, I'd
That
be
part.
like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
So,
indeed.
or just a device that you could call anytime. that you
anytime,
wanted.
anywhere.
Like tell that to our grandparents.
But
A
even
personal
so-
assistant.
But it just
yeah.
made me think, like Star Trek and them, they had the holographic person.
True.
It has made me think these things probably going to, 'cause we
Predictive
thought,
programming.
Exactly. We thought, I don't think that anymore, but we thought back then, like, this ain't gonna happen, that's like high tech.
I did believe we would have flying cars by now, though.
Me too. Me too.
I see they're starting
We do.
there's one that's on the verge of becoming or something.
But it hasn't been like approved. Like they haven't
Because
approved
how
yet
would you
cars for the
do?
road.
You
What
know
if
what?
your car
There's so many
break down
logistics.
mid-air? It's
Also,
like,
do you just fly into New York? Like, how
Yeah.
do you? You
It's
know what
now
I mean?
like passport, like border control.
Yeah.
floating.
Yeah.
Like what?
I think that's way more
Probably
tricky.
to have a geofencing.
Bye.
So,
Look, you
that's
should go
complicated.
call him and be like,
But it's let me think on
logistics.
something somebody was talking about recently on the other podcast. It was like all those movies and stuff. Do you think?
They'll materialize.
No, as in, do you think they were materialized, or do you think
Why?
this was how to put it? Like all those things. Do
Like
you
a
think
foreshadow
because
of
we develop everything is because we saw that, or that,
Oh, I see
or
what you're
is
saying.
it that like
So if it
Whether
wasn't for
art imitates life.
yeah? Is it
Or
or
life
other
im-
way around?
yeah.
I think to a level. I think not all, but I do think some things they take inspiration from movies, as in
Yeah.
the movies plant the seed and we essentially water it.
I would more say generally that the writers, they plant the seed.
Yeah.
And then let's say producers, visionaries, directors
For
and stuff.
sure.
Because even like with sci-fi, it didn't start with the TV, it started with the books. Right?
That's true, actually.
And something that I found fascinating but makes sense. I found it fascinating because sometimes we equate people who are more, say, nerdy, tech-like, to not be as creative, but they are.
They're more creative
Is that a lot of those sci-fi writers were also actual scientists,
Okay.
So then they would write fictional stories about what they foresee based on research that they,
Yeah.
and so that's a part of it.
That
where
makes sense.
where based on your studies, the revelations that you have, your insights, but even your imagination, you pair it with the science and you depict the world that you foresee.
You also are creative.
But images work better than reading.
Exactly. No, I
we'll have
understand
much of
because
a-
people attribute more to movies, whereas the
Correct.
books are like the
Correct.
blueprint in a sense for a lot
yeah.
of movies.
I think readers rather read it.
Oh, 110%.
Yes. Oh, my
I'd
goodness.
rather
A book
read
is
it.
always
book is
better than a
way
movie.
better.
Like I've never
I hate when movies
experienced a
butcher
movie.
books.
No.
Yeah,
But
I've
now
never
they have a book
experienced
that me and her both read, and they're making a movie now.
Which
I am
Children
hopeful.
of Blood and Bone.
Okay,
And I'm
heard about
so
it.
intrigued
I'm
because this is going to
hopeful.
be the first movie that I've read the book.
Oh, okay.
okay, sure.
Because usually it's like I find out a movie and it's like, oh, it was a book.
Based on a book,
Yeah.
like
And
a Hunger
say
Games
it was, say it was
or
backwards.
I
This is
don't
the
know
first
what
time I
it
read the
is.
book first, and now the movie coming out,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I wonder if we're going to really not like it.
Yeah, 'cause
You might get excited. Sorry to cut
No,
you,
go
but you
ahead.
might get. I don't know what I have. Like when I see the movie, I already know it's not going to be as good as the book. But I'm excited to see the differences of what I envision to what
yeah.
is on the TV.
Yeah.
And it just hits different because you know the story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, you know everybody already.
What I enjoy seeing the art displayed
Yeah.
in a different manner,
100%.
knowing that you can't get the whole scope. Like, for example,
Try your best.
yes.
But
Like for example, right now I'm reading A Long Walk to Freedom, autobiography of Nelson Mandela.
yeah.
And when I think back on all the Nelson Mandela movies you watch, it doesn't come close.
No.
But there are some scenes though that are captured so well.
Yeah.
Like
You feel it.
thank you
more.
for that.
Yeah.
Like for example, Denzel Washington with Malcolm X.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job.
I mean, it's Denzel.
But
Yeah. Those are movies I've seen, but I haven't. They're on my list to read.
Yeah. But at the same time, there are certain you wish that there were certain parts of the book that was featured in it. You know.
Okay.
So
I fully get you.
See?
But talking about books,
I was wondering, you had another Dirada? We can just.
no, that was I
Okay,
just had one for
okay.
today.
Oh,
I
okay,
wanted
cool.
to take it easy on you.
Oh wow, okay. Appreciate it.
No,
Yeah.
but talking about books, because on the last episode you mentioned you had 3 books.
Yeah.
Have you come out with new books or still at?
It's still currently at 3.
Okay.
So my first 2 books are presently out of print. That's intentional, just because, you know, I've always been the type of person who believed in doing what you want to do.
As you should.
As long as it's right.
Yeah, and it's backed by purpose and intention.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Just, you know, be a little
Don't go
careful.
throwing stuff out. Yeah.
But if there's something deep within you that you feel a need to develop, you know, you don't want to live a life of regret, even though you're young. As I also never believe in living with the belief that, you know, you'll always have time, because we just don't know what tomorrow may bring.
Exactly.
So, you know, at the time, I consider myself a amateur academic, you know, with the way I published and so forth with those first 2. So for me, Steve Takes a Stand, this new one is like me starting afresh, but especially because it heads towards the purpose to why I started writing.
Okay.
You know, which all boils down to my love for history, which started in high school when I realized that, you know, we didn't learn enough about our island at home. We didn't learn enough about our history.
Relate.
I often say, for example, I appreciate the CXC curriculum. You know, I also believe in Caribbean history and, you know, Caribbean identity. But, for example, I can quote different parts of Caribbean history that we learned in the CXC. And for the average Samoan student, if you would ask about certain facts, certain people, even about our own country, it's a struggle. And it shouldn't be that way. And so one of the things I realized ultimately is that, because my first book, it was a compilation of essays.
Okay.
But I realized, one, why not solve the solution at the root, which is the fact that our history is not being taught in the schools.
Exactly.
So I was like, let me adapt my writing content to children.
Yeah.
You know, that from young they can learn about St. Martin and do it in a fun way, because I am a kid at heart. I'm a very, very serious person,
which
but
is good.
I love fun, you know.
It keeps you young.
Yes, it does. And I've realized that even in going to the schools, I would find creative ways of emphasizing the need for reading, the importance of writing, and so forth. So, for example, one of the things I often do when I visit classrooms is, you know, I would ask the students, who has a favorite book? And depends on what grade you go to. The younger ones, they all say yes. They ask, what's your favorite book? And then they kind of go a little blank. Or maybe Cat in a Hat, you know.
Oh my God.
Mine was a caterpillar one. I forgot the name.
I could see it.
I could see it. I could see it too. I just forgot the name. But yeah.
So, so they'll mention, okay, maybe they have a favorite book or not. Then I would say, okay, cool. So who has a favorite TV show? And of course, you know, raise up their hand. I like, I don't know, Coco Melon or something. No, Coco Melon's for babies, right? Anyhow, they like whatever show.
Maybe they're still watching it.
Perhaps so. Blue, I know Blue is huge among them. And anime. They love anime. Like every classroom I visited, they're like anime hooks.
I love that for anime.
Yeah, right?
I love that children love anime. It depends on which one, but a lot of them teach you so many life
like
lessons.
Naruto. You know, my dream is to be Hokage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, whatever it may be. So I'm like, okay, cool. Why do you like it? I like it because of the action. I like it because of the character. I'm like, interesting. But what about the character do you like? I like that, like in my case, Naruto, you know, he's an underdog, you know, born, feeling rejected and so forth, and now has to work his way to prove himself, has great power within him, but he never stops trying and learning, you know, and even when he's in situations that seem like he will be defeated, he overcomes, you know? So I would pry their minds into getting to the root, like why?
Yeah.
And then and so after they would share, well, I like this, I like the action, I like the drama, and I'll be like, well, there you go. This is storytelling. But it all starts with writing.
Exactly.
It all starts with the imagination of a writer. Someone thought about the color of Goku's hair, for example, when he goes to Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
Someone thought about his childhood into his adulthood. So when you look at TV, it's more than just entertainment. You are looking at a world someone created.
Yeah.
And you can create a world as well.
That's true.
Right? So that's always my approach, because it's one thing to be like, well, the children ain't learning as like children used to before. Like, okay, that's maybe true. But how can we reach them at their level, get them interested? It doesn't profit us to condemn children, condemn young people, you know, because of...
It's counterproductive in a sense.
Exactly.
Because then what do they do?
But I also
condemning
think
You
them
show
and
them
not
off,
guiding
then they're
them.
not interested.
I think the reasons for going to school were also different back then, and the professions it was linked to. I think now, I was having this conversation with my brother because he also in education innovation,
correct.
and it's just like
So it's like,
children
your
have
blood,
completely different
They are.
motivation for what they want to be later on.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of adapt to
Yeah.
that. Basically,
Yeah.
the world is changing.
And it works, because I would be like, who like Melly?
Everybody raising
You
their
know?
hand.
Yeah.
Tell me about a fight that you had in school recently.
And they're
Weird story of
excited.
one fight that started over somebody dropping somebody chicken on the floor.
Oh, I ain't gonna
And then
lie.
they would, they would start. I mean, I get it. It's like
My chicken.
it's a piece of bread. I can understand, but chicken,
chicken.
has a lot of flavor just for pigeons to eat after.
And there's no 5-second rule for chicken.
No. Well,
So,
It depends.
so then we're like, what happened?
Yeah.
Then they tell you this person and this person. When did it happen? There's such a time, like, here you go. Let's now break down the elements of storytelling. You have a character, you have the plot, you have the setting, you have the theme,
Yeah.
all those things, and then you see the lights open.
Yeah, because they realize it is that simple in a sense.
Correct.
yeah. And how do you think your book then helps with that for them?
Oh, beautiful question. I think it helps because one of the things I try to do is not just keep it as a history text, right? It's a historical fiction, so it includes elements of real life, but in a fictional narrative.
Makes sense.
So I think it does so by making history real.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But also relatable.
And relatable.
Yeah.
And very, very much relatable, because even down to one of the things that I was intentional about was even the theme mainly being that about bullying. So that's why it's called Steve Takes a Stand.
Yeah.
So Steve is a young boy who grows up poor with his grandmother, and his parents go to Aruba to find work. And so he goes to school there, without shoes, and the children make fun of him because he has no shoes. And one day, after going back home, feeling demotivated, he lacks self-esteem and so forth.
Yeah.
His grandmother gives him a treat, tell him to go in town, get something for himself. And along the way, he meets three, let's say, local heroes. He meets Jose Lake Sr., L.B. Scott, and Leonidas Richardson. And through his interaction with them, each one of them teaches him a lesson, about their experience being bullied. And that's one of the things I want to be. I was kind of strategic with to highlight that. But so for one, sometimes the worst bullies are adults, right?
Is a adult?
The worst bullies are adults.
Oh.
The worst bullies are 110%.
Yeah, right. I know.
Let me drink
Sometimes
my
in the
water.
workplace, right.
For real.
and even children who sometimes bully. You go look back.
You
it
get
could be
it.
maybe
Yep.
their parents or
Yep.
some.
It's a projection
adult
of something they
in
experience.
their lives. Correct.
Yep.
So he then learns how to deal with bullies from their experience.
Okay.
But also they impart wisdom to him that help develop his sense of self, his identity.
Makes sense.
Because the lessons that Steve ends up learning, especially when he reaches to Miss Richardson, is that he learns about African history. He learns more. He learns more about our African ancestry.
Yeah.
And I found that to be necessary, also because of my personal experience. So I'm kind of in Steve, and fun fact, that's actually my middle name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ralph Steve Cantave.
Yeah. So Ralph Steve Cantave. So I would hear that whenever I know I was in trouble.
Okay.
You know, your mother
That
call
is
your full
interesting,
name.
though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ralph Steve.
Yeah. You know you're in trouble.
That's when you're in big trouble. It's just a lot of work
So they're
too.
laughing.
It's just that
I know.
laughing.
And she knows that. And some of it was her fault, but anyhow, I forgive you.
I mean, yeah.
It be like that.
It be like
I
that,
have
yeah.
sisters, I know.
Yeah.
To a brother. Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I was on her side. Like, I would get my sister in trouble. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, but hey, as a firstborn, you're the test, you're the dummy,
Yeah.
basically. It's like your parents drop you,
The
like
guinea pig.
yeah, basically, and then they kind of adjust along the way. So,
Ooh. True.
Lord.
But yeah, so you
So-
see Steve, well, you are essentially.
Yeah.
Correct. Because when I had that experience, twofold. I remember I was in fourth form. That's when I came back to school woke. When when woke wasn't politicized, but just simply conscious.
Exactly.
It was a summer, I remember clear as day, I don't know how, but I came across this video titled Little Known Facts About African History by Dr. Ivan van Sertima, who also wrote the book They Came Before Columbus.
Okay.
Who wrote about how Africans actually traveled across the Atlantic way before Europeans.
I
and-
think I saw a YouTube video as like a summary of that
Oh,
book
perfect.
itself.
Yeah. So that video, when he broke down facts about attempts to even create devices to fly, I mean, you're talking about way back when.
Yep.
And I can't remember all the facts he mentioned, but just in that moment, my mind became open. I was like, what? All of this, happened in Africa? Because in essence, your perception, what you believe, what you know of Africa is this was a place where slaves come from. They were basic people.
Yeah.
They ate mealies and tended to cows and live in simple huts, and that was it.
Yeah.
But then we became enlightened when we came over into the quote unquote new world.
Yeah.
And so that's one. But then several years after reading the book, The Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James, who was one of the most brilliant Caribbean and just global scholars, but academic, from the Caribbean though, which was a book about Toussaint Louverture and the Haitian Revolution. And as someone of Haitian descent, especially, being bullied because of that,
Yep.
I felt like Superman after I read that book.
Oh, yeah.
It's like immediately I could feel the mental chains being shattered because in that moment I understood the power that I have and the privilege that I have as well.
Yeah.
Because the Haitian Revolution was just so profound,
It was.
literally as a catalyst, that led the charge for freedom of African descent, people of African descent, and it changed the world significantly. So when I read that book and reading just facts about, for example, how they defeated major global armies with inferior weapons just by their sheer will to be free and the gruesomeness of it too. There's one fact I remember reading, like how in order to stop the cannons from like the French and their enemies, women would sacrifice their babies to block it. And I know it sounds gruesome, and it is gruesome. I say like it sounds gruesome.
All
But-
islands?
Sorry?
All islands?
No, for the Haitian
Well, during the
Revolution.
Haitian Revolution. I don't know about...
Maybe islands took notes, but maybe they tried not to. But yeah.
But the
That's
thing about it,
heavy.
right, is, and that's, I guess it feels different because, that's the blood in your veins.
Yeah.
Because you get the will to ensure that I can be free.
Yeah.
That I can sit here comfortably. And so like one of my favorite quotes is from Maya Angelou that says, I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And that, for me, that captured that
Yeah.
for them, this system was so evil that by all means, we had to
They-
ensure that no child of mine,
Yeah.
the next generation, they will not know slavery. So, and then Toussaint Louverture, I mean, he being enslaved and then learning how to read, he studied Latin and he read military books and so forth, to the point where here you have a black man, a Haitian, who outsmarted, outnavigated one of the most celebrated military leaders of that time, Napoleon Bonaparte, right? Because Napoleon, to this day, if you go to military colleges, universities and stuff, they teach you about his strategies. And yeah, he was a great commander, don't get me wrong. But where did he face his worst defeat? One of his worst defeats in Haiti.
Yep.
Right? So, and although Toussaint, he ended up getting captured and so forth, but it's just phenomenal. So overall, it made me realize that I cannot afford to look at myself as inferior. If I am around Europeans or any other ethnicity or race, I can't look down on myself. The taunting, the bullying, it has no effect because I am aware of who I am, of where I come from.
Yep.
And for me, that's also part of my fire passion for St. Martin because, despite what... for example, presently, what Haiti is going through with the issue with the gangs and just over the decades dealing still with neo-colonial issues, France having to pay reparations that they actually are owed and, just all those different stuff. Having been there too, you see this fire, but this strong sense of identity. Yeah. Within the people and the way they live. And for us, I believe that back home, we are at risk, and in some ways we've lost the essence of who we are. Yep. Not fully, definitely not, but we are at risk of watering down ourselves. 100%. Simply because I would just dare say that we've had leaders who've soloed the island for too long. And it's time to take a stand. Like, it's really time to take a stand.
That made me think on something we talk about for our Emancipation Day episode. I don't know if you agree with us on that. We were talking about what is culture. Whereas I don't know if you saw the clip where it's hard to, especially as a St. Martin or maybe even as a Sabon, to say, okay, this is specific to our island, because I was saying, like, we were, as slaves, we were moved around, but even after slavery, as you say, so people used to leave the island for work and et cetera, et cetera. And it's hard to explain to people that, like, okay, well, we consider culture, it's maybe very similar to what might happen in St. Kitts or what might happen and we don't have a specific.
The one thing I noticed with Sabre is it's the same thing applies, but the watered down is something that is very apparent. I think it's already has happened, and we see it especially for like cultural events. So if we look at Carnival, Sabre's Carnival was very culturally driven. Let's say
St. Martin used to have elaborate costumes.
Exactly, and a lot of the costumes told a story, and I think that's something that we've noticed has dwindled throughout the years. But also with regards to how we as a community interact, you could see that there's less culture involved. It's not something you could pinpoint and define fully, but it's a feeling of like knowing where you're from and feeling that continue to just fade a bit.
I think St. Martin have that with the Carnival too. I remember you have Scotty, he's still there? I don't know if you're into Carnival, but like we used to have this guy, he used to make costumes representing either the history or, and I don't know if he's still alive.
I don't know, but I do know it's now mandatory to have a cultural element within a troupe.
Oh.
So that's a step
forward. Like now you have to make it.
You have to mandate it.
You have to make it.
Yeah.
But before that used to be the point.
And what has affected our culture simply is capitalism. It's 100% blown. But what I would say based on, I do remember that clip. And so what I would say to that is always remember that your culture is simply, your way of life, system of beliefs, traditions, and so forth. And though culture evolves, I do believe that there are parts of your heritage that we should maintain, that should be reinforced as well. Because I look at the forever constants. What works for humanity in general, when you go as far back as your most primitive clan, a sense of protection, belonging, looking out for others, right? There's, I find in a sense it leads it right now on the internet. Topics about the gender wars is more rage bait type of stuff. So, but in any case. Of course, some things do need to change, don't get me wrong. But overall, there are things that work that ensure that, for one, a household could remain strong and that a community will remain strong. And capitalism, I think Trevor Noah has a very interesting trending clip on social media about that, and how we now have to buy back the community. Repurchase the way our grandparents and even our parents lived.
That's so true though. Like you sign up for community stuff now and you pay maybe a subscription or something to be part of a community, whereas that should have just been
something that's so I so enjoy, and again that's part of the reason why I put it in the book, just speaking to elders, because when you hear stories like, for example, someone living in Marigot who would have to go walk to town, you know, people would literally just leave water by their porch just with the intention that, you know, there are people who have such a long walk to town that they will be able to just take a glass of water and continue the journey. That's being compassionate. Yeah. So there's those little things. So we have to find ways now. Probably you won't just drink water on a random porch, but there are different ways that we can be compassionate. But in relation to our culture, though, one is to know that it exists and it's alive.
Yeah.
And I say that because I think what we sometimes struggle with is I would say maybe accepting that we have a softer nature.
Yep.
So whereas if you put, I mean, I don't think no one would take it in a discriminatory sense, but if you put a Jamaican, a Trinidadian, a Sematino, and...
Don't forget Sabo.
And a Saban in a room, the Jamaicans and the Trinidadians will...
kind of overpower.
They will overpower you.
Yeah.
Because they're loud.
They're
and not just loud in terms of noise, but they have a dominating way. That's why it works. It works wherever they go. They dominate. They really excel.
Yeah.
So I find islands like ours, you know, we're not as loud. So we're more attentive, we're more observant, and we're very much way more welcoming.
Yeah.
And so that's where I find that the struggle is, you know, because we've kind of accepted a lot and sometimes too much. You know, so it's like, wait, but where am I exactly in this space?
Yeah.
So, but it's to appreciate that, one, we have our language. We have our Semat in English.
Yeah, we do.
You know, so it's to not look down on yourself, look down on the way we speak. And that's why I was also intentional writing different parts of the book in Semat English, as much as for me it was the correct spelling of it.
Yeah,
we don't have a Semat English dictionary as yet. But you know, I mean, it make me laugh no matter how many times I read it. And like, for example, in the book, when one of the elders was speaking to Steve, and like, hey, where you going, young man? And he was like, I'm going in town and get something for me, my gamma.
Oh, goodness.
I wrote it like that.
But that's nice because people could relate to that.
Yeah, and even when I do the readings, the part when his grandmother, when he came back from school and he was feeling sad, and his grandmother gave him some money, and she was like, go in town and get yourself something nice for yourself, you know, like.
You keep it true to exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, but I'm a very animated person. I don't come out.
We could tell.
I can tell.
I love doing the voices and stuff.
So weird. Like, I went to a party the other day and I was saying, yeah, are you? And they was like, am I what? Are we what? I was like, no, are you? He was like, am I? I was like, no, okay.
Are you?
No, are you guys?
Yeah.
And I was like, those are things I'm not even like
you're aware of. No.
That is like.
Are you?
You know, I have that with you get true. Like, that's not a common... I thought everybody would understand me when I say that, but even say when I went in Ghana, I'll be like, you getting true? And they like, true what?
What?
Like, if you
it's not
true,
clocking.
how is that not clocking? You getting true. But that's not a common like phrase, but I didn't clock
We
that.
really don't clock
for me, I thought that was just logic.
Yeah. Oh.
So...
And there was like, they realized, I don't know, I think about it as the week went on. I was like, that makes sense. So they were like the Jamaicans, the Trinidadian, maybe even. I don't know if they had to say Belgian. But not that. I mean, like, that level of Caribbean English sounds very hard. And it was like, they find our cadence is more like Spanish.
Because you could look at it between the ABC islands. I would say Curaçao would overpower a conversation with like Aruba and Bonaire because they're more softer spoken. Whereas in Curaçao, I mean, like you say, it is a culture. It's not more on a... I feel like this is a thin line to walk on just because they probably won't come first in the comments.
That's okay.
But the more of them you meet, or if you are, say, the 10 of each you meet, you more get that loudness on us.
I mean, getting down on them.
I talk about our
observational.
accent. So our accent also, they mean the cadence of how we speak. goes in
It's
line with how
less-
Spanish people speak. Like that. Whereas if you listen to a Jamaican or Trinidadian, it's very like
Bam, 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 bam,
yeah,
bam.
like just the cadence of it, and I never think about it that way.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah,
I do find Trinidadians do speak a bit like
Yes.
yeah. When I hear them talk,
Yeah.
it's just they are
Or maybe
more,
like a Bajan. They're also very commanding when they speak.
Like
Yeah.
we got a fellow Bajan.
But
in
it
the
was
studio.
beautiful. But and then you have like those islands that speak their versions of Creole, whether it's
Yup.
St. Lucia, Dominica, Haiti, Guadeloupe, etc.
Yeah, true.
Those are other factors too, or other elements.
Okay, and well, to mention, this episode is sponsored by TamLeo Books. Everybody, if you don't know, you should know by now. We have been sponsored for a while. We've gone over some books, but we know TamLeo Books also played a part in your
Yes.
journey. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, definitely. So this book was written since 2017,
Okay, and when did it publish?
2022.
Okay.
Yes.
It usually goes like a lot of people kind of say something in that same
Yeah.
area where it's like written and then it takes
Correct.
a minute.
But I was ready
Yeah.
at the time to publish, or Irma happened.
yeah,
got
okay.
ya.
Yes. So long story short, Irma happened. I remember the time my wife and I were still dating, and I remember when we went to a restaurant or so, a cafe. It was a cafe. But I have a sharp memory. I always remember everything. So I went to a cafe and I was speaking to her about my ideas for the book launch. I wanted to be fun with bouncy castles and because I wanted to be a
Very
lit
kid friendly is a
exactly.
vibe.
Then there will be a moment for the storytelling where
Yeah.
I go all out and then just have fun with each other and stuff. Then Irma happened, and after that went to college, and then come back home. Yay! But COVID happened.
Yep.
And so Tamara, she went through her journey with publishing, starting to publish children books. And I was like, I actually have a children's book that I wrote. And she was like, sure, let me like send it to her, let her check it out. And she asked me if I was stupid.
Oh,
Not in a
That
bad
sound like-
way.
I can see it
I
different.
can hear it. Wale.
Because she was like, you sitting on this book for how long? And I'm be honest, even up to recently, I have really been sleeping on myself. But because I am not big on pushing my work. Like for me to
But
take my book and hey,
cringy.
for me it's like I wrote it, it's
Like,
there,
you know.
like
If
should
you want
buy
it, you should know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
there's a sales marketing part of it too, right?
100%.
So but she was all for it. And then something that was necessary for me too was that even with the illustrations, and a goal of mine with every book, I worked alongside a young Samaritan illustrator. So because what I want to do with every book is to feature different young artists,
Makes sense.
Oh, I
right?
love that.
So yeah. So long story short, we published it. I sent her the manuscript, and TamLeo Books, they handled putting the book together, which I also appreciate because that took a relief off of me too.
Yeah,
That
for
way I can
sure.
focus on doing more of the readings,
Yeah.
and the tours, and so from there on out, what I really appreciated as well was realizing that, my book was not. Although for me, I wrote it for Samaritan children. It's not limited to Samaritan children.
Okay.
Because the story it hits.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Aruba last year, November, and their library has they host what they call Kindle Book and Wake, right? So they invited me actually.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, and that was intense but fun.
Yeah.
because I visited 19 classrooms in a
Wow.
week.
That.
Yeah, it was like back to back every day. And to see this book relate to even children in Aruba, like still, yes, we're Caribbean students, but very much different culture.
100%.
I was like, whoa, I didn't realize what I wrote it, but I didn't realize like what I wrote.
impact,
And then recently shortly before coming here, there was a school in Marigot that I think they're the first to implement a bilingual program.
Okay.
And so as part of
As
one
in
of the
English and French.
Yes, English and French, yeah. Because French system.
Yeah, French is
don't
French.
like nothing that ain't not French.
Yeah.
So as part of also one of TamLeo Books initiative, there were different schools that got a copy of a book to create a theater competition. And so that school got my own. And they made a skit adaptation of it, which they did in front of me because they were a graduating class. So
that must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I was like, wow.
It was crying.
Awesome. And I even found out that he even went to Anguilla and performed it there. I was like, so again, it blew me away. Like, wow, like
sometimes you don't realize the impact you make
of your work. Correct.
Yeah.
And so just before school closed, I had a nice interaction with them. They, Mr. Mussington, shout out to him. Lenny Mussington, he wanted the children to actually meet the author of the play, and they were excited, and they asked so many questions, and so then is when I realized, although I was intentional, but I guess I didn't realize the depth of some, because for me, I was like in every page, I was specific about writing a historical fact.
Yep.
At the same time, I didn't want to drown people with history, but I want to make it relatable.
Yep.
So even the part with Steve living with his grandmother, his parents being away at Aruba to work, that's part of our history, where people had to leave home. That's part of even a lot of St. Martin's present social reality. But a lot of people on St. Martin had to leave home to come to St. Martin to find work because it was booming economically.
Yeah.
But back then, people had to leave St. Martin to other places to find work. So topics on... so that you have immigration that comes, even colorism. Like in the end of the book, there's a surprise story there of topics about privilege, about even abandonment. Because you could imagine back then, it wasn't that you were leaving on KLM or Liat, to go to another island. It was on the, I forget the name of that boat. Was it called I forget the name, I don't want to butcher it. But it was this... Let's say iconic boat that all the old time people could tell you about, that he used to travel through the Caribbean with, and especially in our zone of the Caribbean. And so hearing stories of how someone, their mother would put them on a boat, or they would see their father go on a boat and he's like, you have no clue when you'll see them again.
Yeah.
So, and what I realized is it just relates. Because even in Aruba, I had cases where I met some students. So I like to ask questions, and I guess you would probably realize that when I do my readings, I don't just like read a book. No. I like to first ask questions and read and ask questions, like build I like to be very interactive and conversation. And so Venezuela has had its political upheaval. Yeah. So some of the students, there's a part in the book where I speak about the history of Jose Lake, where he speaks about his experience being bullied, right? So he, for those who may not know, first in Martin to publish a newspaper in 1959. And he was a radical, and, people used to have to hide to read his newspaper.
They used to what?
Used to have to hide to read his newspaper.
Wow. Radical.
And because, the island was controlled or ruled by a very dominant hand. No one wanted to look like they were against the ruling party. Okay. Yeah. Right? No one wanted to seem like they're against who's in charge. Yeah. So I mentioned how, he was bullied. People used to taunt him. I mean, heard stories about how people used to spit on him, like literally attack him. And the one part that I mentioned in the book was when his printer is burnt down. And so he's speaking to Steve about that. And so in the book, I wrote, all while telling Steve these sad things, he smiled. And so I would ask the children, why do you think he smiled? And just questions like that, the answers they give you like, wow.
What's an example?
So for example, I remember one of the students, one of them in Aruba was like, maybe he was still sad and feeling away, but he wanted to show Steve that like he can overcome, a defeat or a challenge. Yeah. And so I remember there was one child who, was from Venezuela and shared about how she felt, she's here with some of her family, but her father is back in Venezuela and they haven't heard from him, and so it's things like that you realize how touching a story can be, but the significance and power of storytelling. Yeah. Because even though they're young, their senses are developing and they're sharp. They're noticing things that should be considered in the way that overall, what I really hammered on with the book is that bullying is wrong, right? The trying to break someone's spirit, it's something that we need to stand up to, especially more on a national level, which is why I again mentioned those three persons that even to this day on St. Martin, that what I would say is a culture of fear, this fear of speaking up, this fear of saying when something is wrong, of addressing your leaders when they do wrong, and of just establishing what is right, and just sharing your opinion, etc. That, it's not something that we should tolerate because it was worse back then. And part of why I stress on the knowledge of history is because I can, especially for me, being a journalist, although I'm not as active, knowing that someone walked the plank, let's say, and made a sacrifice to make it easier, for my generation, myself, and others who to come, that they can, go forward and speak truth to power, makes you appreciate, that time that existed, but to also appreciate the time you have now. Because we do have greater privileges. I don't necessarily have to start a old-fashioned newspaper or print, and I can just create a Facebook account and get the news.
I was gonna say Facebook is where people do voice their opinion. Maybe sometimes not on the right matters.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
But that's a general. I guess that's a one curse of social media in a sense.
I guess.
I don't know if you ever seen that meme, like the internet really make you realize what used to go on in people's heads.
Yeah.
Sometimes like,
and it could.
This is what he was thinking. Just in general, still.
Yeah. But overall, and that's something that. So while I may be, again, multi-hyphenate, I have my core principles and values. And this, if it's one thing, my wife would tell you that I hate corruption, I hate wrong, I hate abuse, people taking advantage of others, especially, people who don't have the power, don't have what it takes to stand for themselves.
That was one of your things that you had in our last episode of your utopia would be that happens less. On the island, that people are not taken advantage of. And I don't know, sometimes being here, we're not in tune with everything, but I don't know how you feel as if those things still go. Of course, they're probably still going on. But in my head, maybe because I far removed, it's like it's less or something. I don't know.
I would say so to an extent. And depends on how far you go.
Okay.
So there's still that sentiment like, boy, people will be like, be careful, don't say this, or watch what you say because they might come after you and, might weaponize the system against you. Whichever way that is, there are people who have experienced it in the form of study financing, in the form of just opportunities, right? Access to improve your livelihood. So overall, it's the system being weaponized against you. And so that reality is still there. But I do have the sentiment that people are less afraid though of expressing themselves. I do get that. Especially because I think we've reached a point where I think what made it intense was that you kind of had the same people, and though we see similar faces, you kind of had the same people who really were in power for
a long time,
and now
it's a change. It's a
forever
shift.
Changing.
It's a little shift.
Yeah. So sadly. But what you have, it's more subtle because it's not necessarily. Sometimes we think it's the persons we see on like in the front page of the newspaper, but it's more of the shadows in the sense
behind.
Of high-ranking civil servants or in that sense, people with administrative power, who sometimes the people on the front page may be afraid of themselves. But ultimately, especially me being a person of faith, listen, you can't be afraid of people. I'm smiling because, I would say I've witnessed the underbelly of St. Martin, especially when I was doing my investigative reporting. And I guess it strengthens you, because then it's like, well, I've seen some of the ugliest parts, and though they are uglier, you just have to live with the resolve that what you're doing is right, knowing that it is. and kind of going back to the beginning of being ahead of your time, that you may not necessarily be as accepted, or welcomed. Because one of the things I've realized is that people will celebrate you just to a certain degree.
100%.
They're like, no, you're going too far.
Yeah.
You're going way too far. Like, no, truth is truth.
Yeah.
We don't know half truths.
Yeah,
We're going all the way because we need to establish what is righteous and what is just. Justice has to be part of our culture, because I think it's very dangerous when you reach to a point where your society, when people are okay with things being wrong because they feel like nothing will be done anyhow.
Exactly.
And I can't stand that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the world is at, in my opinion. Everybody thinks it's gone to so much turmoil and whatnot that I don't need to do anything because what is going to happen?
Yeah.
And I always keep this quote in my head, but they say a society thrives when men plant trees that they'll never experience the shade of. And that's the case of, like, I feel like even though there's so much going on, doing something still counts.
Yeah.
And it could be scary because you walk into a room and you could be overwhelmed by how much maybe destruction is in the room.
Yeah.
But if you pick up one piece of wood, that already adds to less destruction.
Yeah.
And I think it's that case of, like, trying to remember that,
Yeah.
but also in your society. Because sometimes we think, oh yeah, people just think like this is the mindset. So you don't want to do anything or you don't feel motivated to do anything. But I generally think that it's the small is where it starts. Just
And
like
so be a light. Be a light. Be a light.
Be a light.
Be a light.
Yeah.
You don't put a candle under the table, right? You put it on the lampstand. So
But sometimes
your
being
light
a light,
shine.
I can understand it gets tiring to shine.
no, it does.
that
Don't get me
long.
wrong.
Being a light or bring mosquitoes, flies, whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
I wanted to briefly touch on, like, because your book is something the students read, but there's also, like, the curriculum. And as you say, CXC does incorporate Caribbean culture. I told them that because I chose history, thankfully, because our history exam in Harvard Dutch education was also Caribbean. But
really?
I
Okay,
think,
didn't-
but yeah, if you don't choose that,
Oh, then you don't get it.
then you
Okay.
don't get it.
Yeah, well, that's
So then it makes me think on, like, just even in the conversation I was having with my brother, like, how we could reprogram the entire crew. I think that's one of the focus points that they want to do now within education on the island is kind of just reform certain things, which I think is probably a big task, because how do you do that as a island that kind of falls within the Dutch Kingdom? And then you also have the CXC and English schools. And I wonder if those are things people willing to do, like help write a curriculum that's focused on the Caribbean experience or just for Caribbean kids.
I would say it's not impossible.
I don't think so either.
But also as daunting as it may seem, it all boils down to the will.
Yep.
So what I would say, which I'm so grateful for, is that for those teachers who would color outside the lines, because that's part of the reason why I am where I am. I was shout out Mr. Cook, who was my teacher, my homeroom teacher in Sorton Academy, who made such an effort.
Yeah.
To the point where, because he constantly would bring in he would bring in people, to come and speak to the classroom, that they now have, at least for academy, they now have civics, a civics class. But he led that because he was consistent in championing the fact that St. Martin students need to learn about St. Martin.
Yeah.
So that students, I'm surprised students nowadays, like, learn about, for example, the General Audit Chamber, about the High Councils of State. They learn about how the system actually works.
Yeah.
And about their leaders beyond just the like who's the president of parliament, but the role.
Yeah.
But he has always been that type of teacher. And then we had different teachers in primary school and some different ones in high school too who would do such a thing.
Yeah.
Where they would bring in elders to tell us about old time stories and old ways of how society function. So I think what we need to do is leverage those minds that are still fresh.
Yeah.
You have a lot of retired teachers. They are really they're a knowledge bank for St. Martin, but we have to incorporate them into our planning for national development. Though we are adjusting and curious about the world of tomorrow, especially with AI and so forth being in the mix. Again, let's go back to the constants.
Yeah.
What makes a community thrive? What makes a people productive? What strengthens an individual sense of identity, belonging, and acknowledge that your contribution to the pot and to the world is meaningful.
Yeah.
That even though our children are in St. Martin, through learning about themselves, they can also, they should also receive a world-class education.
Yeah. I want to say certain things, but my mother told me I should be careful, with my job up here.
Oh, okay, in that sense.
Okay, but we have a game.
Cool. I'm
We're
off
going
games.
Pivot is also based on St. Martin history. I mean, we could all play in the room, to be honest. I want to
because
see.
I ain't gonna lie, guys.
Oh, it's hard?
I don't know if it's hard, but let's say one of you don't know it. I know the answers.
I feel Ralph gonna know all the answers.
You never know. Let's see.
We'll see.
Let's see if somebody willing to answer before you. That's
Okay.
also.
Y'all ready? This is your time to be your brother.
She can't.
Are you different
In
in
what
that
sense?
sense? Because you say she can't.
No, she's brilliant. But it's just me being a big brother.
I'm giving you a compliment.
But I did raise her too, so.
Oh, okay.
Not him giving the compliment back to himself.
Okay. The first question is, okay, which specific clause in the 1648 Treaty of Concordia caused recurrent disputes between the French and the Dutch?
Is multiple choice?
No. You just gotta know.
I think what they had recurring issues with was ownership of land by the border. But I don't know which clause.
Basically, because it was about the mutual assistance clause, which promised military aid against outside threats. But then I think they were using it against each other. But then it's like, how does the military aid come and aid you if you're trying to fight the other one?
Oh, okay.
And they was trying to take up land. So like the Dutch were trying to get land, the French were trying to get land. And then if you use military aid for that, it's like, who does the military aid then help?
Got you. Okay.
So this essentially is a history lesson for me because them questions don't even have A, B, C, or D.
No.
I was looking forward to that, yeah.
You could maybe try guess.
Haiti.
But
go
it
to
makes
number
sense because, after the Treaty in Concordia, they did not respect the treaty till like 1900. They kept invading
Each other.
each side to one point where the English invaded the whole island. And then I think it was World War I where the French came over to the Dutch side. And so imagine in the 1900s, they
I feel like that might be one of my questions.
Oh,
Well, we know you know the answer.
Okay, I wonder if you know this because I didn't know this.
okay.
What archaeological site on St. Martin provides the most evidence of pre-Columbian? Why would it consider him? Anyway, pre-Columbian settlement, and what was found there is an estate. So they found evidence of like the Arawaks.
So I know evidence was found in Lowlands area, in Maho area, but the estates were more inland. I can't recall which estate had a...
Ain't got no ABC.
Sorry, no.
Okay.
They have here the Norman estate.
No. Okay, that's news to me too.
They found pottery shards, stone tools,
The
food
Norman
remains.
estate?
Yeah, apparently that's on the French side.
Oh, okay, well,
And now it's like a little hotel type thing. But yeah.
okay.
But I didn't even know they found evidence of the Arawaks and etc.
Unstable was the same.
This was news to me.
Yeah.
There were settlements, but one thing I know, they never, like, they didn't reside on the island for long. It's like they would come and go. We didn't really have fresh water sources.
True. That makes sense. And keep it to 4 because
Wait, you went in a encyclopedia?
because I wanted stuff that people don't always know.
Oh, which is
Because a
good.
lot of the history, I'll be honest, I know. So I was just feel like I was repeating. Because we also have done stuff like this before, and it was just a bunch of repetition.
I got you.
Okay, before the tourism boom, which non-salt industry was briefly significant in St. Martin's economy?
Okay.
And why did it fail?
Why did it fail? Okay. So we used to ship indigo, cattle.
Jody, you could guess. Or you could guess.
Sugar cane.
No.
It failed. So I don't think sugarcane failed.
Well, I failed.
Was it the shipping of cattle? Because I know that's one of the...
It starts with a C.
Cotton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Why it failed, I'm not sure.
Let me see if we have
But
it here.
yeah, we used to ship indigo as well
Yeah,
to
I
Curacao
saw
and
that.
different places.
It failed
yeah.
due to pests and hurricanes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Fly away.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
just continue guessing from now on.
Okay. You kind of mentioned this today. So, what happened after slavery ended in the sense of like, how was the island being run? How did people find jobs? I helping you.
Rav.
No. Because
The tip is in the...
yeah, like how did people find jobs?
The hint is in the question.
Yeah.
Oh, they went abroad. So they would leave the island on that boat that the elders talk about. They was telling me the
Yeah, I
other
can't
day.
remember.
And they would go abroad.
Was
I
it the
can't remember the
Antilia?
name.
I wonder if it was called the Antilia.
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
I
I'll
never
leave it in
heard
the
about
comments
this
when
boat.
I confirm.
But yeah, there was labor shortages, so they would either migrate.
Yeah, Panama Canal,
Yeah.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
Which 20th century hurricane? 20th century. So this is
Yeah.
okay. We've changed the island's development. There were two.
I know Lenny was serious, but is that 20th century?
Lenny is not. You mean
Lewis as
You
well?
mean Lewis?
No, for Saber, Lenny did a lot of damage.
She was 98,
Yeah.
97.
But I don't know if
Lenny
I
wasn't
know
as
for-
bad as Lewis, guys.
No, for Saber. That's why I speaking because I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So I just saying
When
for
were you
Saber.
born?
97.
Oh, so you wouldn't know.
Lenny was 98.
No, but I know from the history.
Lenny was
Yeah, but I mean,
99.
you wouldn't know from experience.
Nah, I
Sorry.
understand.
Yeah.
Lenny was 99.
That was a
Lou-
baby and
None of us was
Lewis.
born when this one.
I know
It's in the 80s?
60s.
Oh.
64?
But my mother was born this year, so
I forgot the name.
Donna.
Yes.
So it was
yes.
Hurricane
It was one of
Donna?
the worst hurricanes. Yes.
and
it's
then
just- yeah.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Because Lewis is when we really was like Irma, we depleted and
No, you would no. It's like all the old folks. I'll tell you about that. I think it was one of those two that
Okay.
there was kind of no signs of it
Mm.
because sometimes people used to get caught up. It's like imagine you walking home from work or
And
whatever.
a hurricane just show up.
That's rude. You ain't put out your shutters, nothing.
Because how?
But the
I
way they
got
build their
some.
houses,
They didn't have or need.
well, some houses had. Depends
Because
on-
now we have like, proper
Hurricane
ways
prep.
of knowing hurricane is coming.
yeah,
But
of
true,
course. Yeah,
back then they just had to like
Watch the
focus
clouds.
on.
yeah they were
also the
all
sky.
birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were telltale signs that they naturally develop.
Wow.
But the same for
But it
earthquakes.
was because I remember one story. Do I remember it well? But in any case, let's say for example, this is part of a story that I remember. You just go to the nearest house that you're at and hunker down until the hurricane.
See, community,
Passes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna be like, nah, you can't get in.
One fun fact: you know the original word hurricane?
I feel like I've heard this, but I
Yeah.
forget. It's her. Yes, our thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Last one is a little light. In what year was Princess Juliana International Airport first opened, and what event did it coincide with?
Go ahead, because I would. lean on
Anybody
you
know
for
the
this one.
event? Anybody know the year?
King's Day or something? Or
No.
Queen's Day?
It's-
It's 40 something?
yes.
48?
No.
45.
45, 46. Right after the war. 21?
You closer.
42.
40.
Are you just gonna count up? No. Is it 42?
46.
No, you were
47.
close just now.
44.
43. It was
What happened
1943.
in
I think that
1943?
was the first time the Queen was coming.
It's the first time. It was Queen Wilhelmina's anniversary party because World War II had what? Wait, coincided with Queen Wilhelmina's reign anniversary and was partly a World War II strategic airfield project.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I knew something about World War II.
Well,
That
there
was still
were
going
they heard some stories about the German submarines. You know, they did reach as far as our area.
Yeah, actually. That's
Wow.
really fun. There's a boat that was built by one of my great grandfather on my mom's side.
Ooh.
That was it's called the Florence M. Douglas, and it was shelled by a German U-sub. It was on the way to
Wow.
taking cargo between the Caribbean. It used to take cargo
Wow.
I had another question, but I can't find it.
Yeah.
But that was it. But it had one that also was talking about how St. Martin had served as like a port to send military stuff between what was the war between America and the UK? The Independence War?
The Boston Tea Party?
No, I mean that was
Independence War,
the Independence War that they used as I can't remember. It's kind of like a port. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't really know these things that this is what the islands was doing.
Yeah, but of course, it was our region played an instrumental role with especially the oil refinery, Curacao, Aruba.
True.
Yeah, and I do know that Statia, for example, was one island where people really suffered because of shortages of food and people died and stuff. So it was tight even to get produce for St. Martin during that time as well. There is a book I highly recommend everybody in St. Martin gets. It's called For a Stick of Fire.
By who?
Mulberry Pantoflet. Okay. It's a thick book, but it's a story about life on St. Martin in the, I think, 40s, 50s, and 60s. But it was one of the most creative books. It's all in poetry form. Ooh. Short, very short, creative rhyming stories and patterns.
Okay.
For a Stick of Fire by Mulberry Pantoflet. That is an enriching book because she grew up in Reward. She's a sister of the late Dennis Pantoflet, who was a commissioner.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mulberry. And it's an amazing book. Just a rich book. Okay. So you really get a glimpse of life in St. Martin way back when. So from how it was going to school, how it was dealing with family, even the title For a Stick of Fire, you probably know about it, being from Sabre.
What?
About For a Stick of Fire?
Nope.
No? Okay. Which was basically, sorry, I made it like Sabre's that old time.
No.
You don't have yet to be to visit Sabre, but
you haven't been to Sabre?
No.
Rude.
Are you been? No, wow.
Thank you. Appreciate. How did you like it?
Damn. We need to just plan. You know what I need to do? They need to give tickets for St. Martiners to visit these islands.
Yeah. You just need to take the initiative and go visit.
Well, I don't know if
but I mean, like at this point, so many people ain't been.
Is this nepotism if I ask you to ask the Sabre Tourism Board to sponsor a ticket? Let me be a content. Let me be an influencer in Sabre.
I mean,
you plug it in for yourself.
Yeah, just saying.
I could send them this
episode. Reach out. And I will bring my book. I'll read it to all the children to say.
Honestly, no, for real. We can make this happen. I'm down for it. We can make this happen.
But Sabre, I have yet to visit Sabre. Before Stick of Fire, basically the origin of it is that they had proper stove. They had stoves like how we have stoves.
Yeah.
So what you would do is sometimes, and then when you're cooking on stones.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you need fire for yours and you don't have, then you go for a stick of fire. And you had to get it was a science, so you had to get the right stick. Yep. You had to protect it, because if you reach back home and the fire get out, you had to go back to the neighbor house and get another stick.
It sounds like Survivor.
But it was.
I mean, back then, essentially,
So you see why, but these are little facts that I like to talk about because it makes you appreciate the time we're in now.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, bro, we know we have these. Actually, not even those.
We could tell Alexa
you could just
to turn on
press
the stove.
a button. Exactly, and turn on the stove.
Yeah.
I don't like those though, but I still prefer.
No, you can't tell Alexa to turn on the stove. Eventually, they'll probably do that.
You sure?
You could tell Alexa to turn on your stove.
I think they
maybe
have
not
smart
Alexa,
houses.
but the smart homes.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you just have a... Yeah.
Make
Yeah, but that's a little scary. Like Russia might come in, anyhow.
I mean,
but for real, that in itself is just scary. Get up. Sorry, I always say that. When people say, Alexa, turn off my lights, get up and turn off your light. But
the convenience is nice, but sometimes we're going a little too far.
Now we're getting hyper.
It's like, remember the movie WALL-E?
For sure, that's one of my favorites. I need to watch it again.
Guys, you do know that a lot of these things are also beneficial for people that are not able to do them.
But
okay, but at the same time, now we becoming not able to do a lot because we get hyper comfortable. You understand? Like I get that, but
yes,
then make
I
it
get
exclusive to those people.
Well, no, but that's too controlling. But I think
I'm a control freak. No, but it's a case of like, you had to go look for that stick of fire. So when you had that fire meant a lot to you.
That's true,
now
that's true.
you light a match. If it's out, it's gonna light again. So you don't value it as much, I guess. But also just the comfort. I mentioned this in a couple of episodes ago. Our relationship with pain has completely changed because we don't feel pain as much as we used to, in the sense of either waiting for something, working for something, or just
or being boring. That's something I've been
bored.
I don't want to go too far, but no, in a sense, I don't know how much time we have or whatever, but that's something I've been appreciating more, which is being comfortable with being boring. Bored. Sorry, being boring. Don't be boring.
Oh my God, you're reading my mind.
Awesome. But being bored, because that is it's good for your brain.
It's so good for your creativity.
You know that moment where like, you want to beat boredom, okay, you go and you scroll or whatever. No, learn to sit in silence, seeing your own thoughts, etc.
This has been my summer.
No, but
that's good though. That's good. Your brain is thanking you.
But also, I've been coloring a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
Because me and my friend
you're working on your motor skills again.
Yeah, we had a night where we just color all night.
That's another thing. Like children these days.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a teacher, right? I don't know if you work with little children, big children.
No, unfortunately, big children.
Okay. Oh, unfortunately. But but like a lot of teachers can tell you, like, I mean, the science.
The motor skills are getting ridiculous.
Yes,
like
because they're used to just
scratch,
this.
You can't understand what is
writing. There are some old things that we've moved past. Not that we have to do everything from the past, but some things to just
come back.
Because
just remain. It's good for us.
But it even comes to the brain as a muscle. Wherever you exercise will become stronger.
Correct.
And I feel like boredom exercises focus, because it's not like per se you focusing on something, but you're just present. You don't have to be distracted. Yeah. But I feel like now we exercise our muscle for distraction, so that muscle's getting bigger.
Yeah, you're overly stimulated and always desiring a hit. It's like it's like living in a casino. It's no bueno.
No bueno.
But to end it off, I wanted to ask you, like, if you were to write your next book, what would you want it to be about?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
That's a good question. It's actually ready.
Ready
in terms of
idea.
Yeah, concept and so forth. It's gonna be focused on education and hope.
Okay.
Ooh,
so the idea with, because like it's Swadigan Tales, the idea is to make it a series, right? So like the key theme on this one was bullying.
Yeah.
The next one I want to focus on is hope.
Okay.
And so whereas Steve focuses on his identity and then meeting with his elders, this is to emphasize the value of education. You know, because as education transforms and is transforming with AI, again, those things that work for every generation.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to reinforce it and again find the creative ways of teaching children that it pays to read and write. I had a college professor who used to say, as long as you can read and as long as you can write, you can do anything. And I fully stand by that.
Yep.
Because it's the basics for creating a whole new world.
True.
So
I think also if you like, comment, and subscribe, you would create
a whole new world
for Bite to Bullet. Because this was honestly a phenomenal episode.
Appreciate it.
Like we did our episode 11. It was amazing, but this one, I don't know what it was. But the information, the fun facts, the history lesson, like all of it truly was wholesome. And I think very necessary for a lot of people. Because like you say, I feel like some of us don't know about our history. So it was really good to get insight on that. And yeah, just thank you for being on the couch.
Thank you for welcoming me. And for persons who want the book, generally they can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
And
we'll have the link for sure.
Yep. So
and physically, people want it on the island.
On the island, then at Van Dorp, Family Bookstore, Shipwreck Shops, and the museum.
Okay.
On Front Street.
Thank you. I love how you, I don't know, just how your brain connects to certain things 100%. And then how you tell a story with what you're saying.
Thanks.
And just is a very nice way of just storytelling.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to be a comedian once, but it didn't work well.
I couldn't see it, you know. Yeah, you could have done a little something high key.
You could.
It didn't go well.
Oh, you tried?
Tell him had a...
Yeah. Oh, no.
I bombed so hard. Crickets. Oh, my gosh. But I think my strength is in...
building.
I can write the jokes.
Yeah, but to deliver... we understand,
important.
But it's okay. You delivered here, so that's fine.
Appreciate it.
And you delivered with your book, so y'all make sure you check it out and let us know in the comments what you thought about this episode. And we out.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Dewey.